The movie starts off with the depiction of an eccentric film set. There are people bustling around trying to create a masterpiece of a movie. The main lead is a very famous actress, and this movie goes on to show her lavish yet scary life. The woman on screen is surrounded by flashing lights and cameras, and she smiles at all of them. She is none other than the famous Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn looks around in glee and gives her best performance. The year is 1933 in Los Angeles. We see a small girl sitting in a car with her mother. Her mother tells her that she has a birthday surprise awaiting her. The little girl smiles in excitement and finally reaches home. They go to her bedroom together, where the elder woman points towards a photo frame. The little girl, whose name is Norma Jean, looks up at the frame in confusion. She doesn't know what's going on, and that's when her mother tells her that the man in the photo is her father. Norma is stunned to hear that and tries to ask more questions, but her mother stops her. The two of them stare at the frame as her mother talks about him. She tells Norma that the man is a very important figure, and that's why she can't tell Norma his name. She tells her daughter that she must not tell this to anyone, as it could cause a lot of complications. Norma's mother, Gladys, goes on to tell her that her father would probably never be in her life, even though she loves him so much. Norma asks Gladys where he is, but Gladys never answers that question. She seems to be a very unstable lady. She shakily lights up all of Norma's birthday candles and brings her the cake whilst continuing to heavily drink. Norma ignores her mother's behavior and just celebrates her birthday. She later goes to sleep as Gladys continues to talk about how they're dirt poor. In her dream, Norma imagines her life with her father and smiles. She's then woken up really early in the morning by Gladys, and together, they walk out into the chilly night. She places the sleepy girl in her car and they drive away. As they drive out of the city, Norma sees her entire neighborhood in flames. Gladys tries to calm her down, but she's really scared. Lots of people passing by tell Gladys to go the other way, but she doesn't listen. She instead drives towards intense smoke. However, they manage to drive past it and see lots of men screaming at each other. Gladys continues to drive until an officer stops them and asks them to go away. Gladys just tells him that she's going to meet Norma's father. She adds that he has a fireproof mansion and that he's a really big man. The officer doesn't believe her and asks her to turn around, but Gladys refuses. He tells her that he'll have to arrest her if she doesn't listen, which agitated Gladys. She starts bickering with the officer and Norma gets scared. Finally, Gladys comes to her senses and apologizes for her behavior. She starts to express how she's depressed and wishes that the officer would just shoot her. Norma panics as she hears this, while the office realizes that Gladys is on substance. She orders her to turn her car around and go back home. Gladys begrudgingly does that and drives away. That's when Norma finally musters up the courage to ask Gladys if her father was really here the whole time. She goes on to question why he never showed up to visit them. This question makes Gladys sob in pain. She then gets into a fit of rage. At home, Gladys strips off of all her clothes and does the same to Norma. She gets a bath ready and asks Norma to get in. In truth, Gladys is a schizophrenic woman who had been used by a really rich businessman. She thought the man loved her, but he never did. So when she got pregnant with their child, he shoved a ton of money down her throat and commanded her to abort it. Gladys didn't do so and Norma was born. But Gladys still thinks that the man loves her. She thinks that the only reason he said he didn't love her was because she was just his mistress, and after she fell pregnant, he pushed her away because he already had a family of his own. She thinks that the only reason her lover pushed her away was because of the cursed child, and if it had never been born, he would have surely married her. As she's trying to eliminate Norma, Gladys gets weaker and weaker. Norma takes this opportunity to escape while Gladys continues screaming and cursing. Norma manages to bang on her neighbor's door, asking for help. A lovely couple opens the door and they're stunned to see Norma in such a pitiful condition. She's naked, so the woman hurriedly covers her while her husband runs to help Gladys. The woman hugs Norma tightly and assures her that she's safe now. The next day, she tells Norma that her mother is okay now and she can go visit. In the background, her husband glares at the two of them menacingly. It seems he has threatened her to send Norma away. The woman tells Norma that her mother is fine now and is admitted to a hospital. She packs a small suitcase for the little girl to take with her, while her husband, whose name is Clive, offers to drive her. But after a while, Norma realizes they're not in a hospital but instead, in front of an orphanage. Norma quickly understands what's going on and starts crying. The woman apologizes to her profusely and tells her that Gladys is in a mental hospital for harming herself and her daughter. Because of this, Gladys would be kept in a mental facility without any custody of Norma. The little girl begs and cries, saying she's not an orphan. She tells them that she has a mother and a father. Norma talks about her father coming to her soon, but the woman doesn't care. She tells Norma that they can't keep her and that she needs to go to the orphanage. She drags Norma, who cries incessantly. Years pass and Norma grows up into a beautiful, young lady. She has an extraordinary voice as well. Because of this, she starts to gain fame and pose for different magazines. Soon, she starts posing for raunchy and sultry magazines as well. Norma ultimately gains a lot of fame and takes a new stage name, Marilyn Monroe. But this also comes with a price. Men of all ages and statuses try to woo her, while most of the industry tries to get sensuous pictures of her for publicity. Norma begins her journey of acting and goes for multiple auditions. In one of her acting lessons, the coach there tells all of his students to close their eyes and imagine themselves as the character they're playing. This makes Norma motivated and she is completely immersed in her life's events. She starts thinking of all her experiences so far. At one point in time, she starts to get more offers and decides to visit her father. She walks into a lavish restaurant where all the men gawk at her body. Norma now has a signature blonde hairdo and a mole on her face which makes her really attractive. She sits down opposite her father and tells him that she's really nervous about what's to come. Her father assures her that she'll do great and advises her to be on time. Norma agrees to it and goes to meet one of the directors. There she tries to read her script, but the vicious man mistreats her. Norma can't utter a word as she gets taken advantage of. The man ushers her out and she does so without question. She walks out of his office with tears streaming down her eyes. All the directors try to take advantage of her and don't even ask to read anymore. She soon gets a lot of movies and eventually becomes renowned. In one of her premieres, she sits beside her father and watches the movie, but in the midst of it, even her own father tries. This event just rips her apart and hurts her to the core. We're back at the acting lessons, where Norma is on the floor crying and screaming because of those traumatic lessons. The coach brings her back to the present and assures her that everything is okay, while all the others stare at her in shock. Norma quickly composes herself and smiles. She tells them all that she was just remembering some events of the past. Finally, she goes to one of her auditions where the script is very much like her own story. She's really nervous and jittery at first, but then she remembers the little girl she was and tries to enact Gladys. She looks into the empty shelves and forgets everyone else present in the room. There, she starts acting like nobody's watching. She exerts out all her emotions and mixes her own life story with the script. She imagines the man in the photo frame as the main lead and in a way, pleads with her father to come back. After a while, it's almost as if she isn't even acting anymore. All the men there are shocked yet thoroughly impressed. But she's still not what they want. Norma realizes this and begs them for a chance. She tries to convince them that the character and herself are almost the same. But the thing is, the men there are scared of her and think she's mentally unstable because of the way she acted. They could see that she wasn't acting at all, but rather just reliving. Everyone there tries to debate whether to cast her or not, but the director just wants to sleep with her. In the end, Norma walks away with her father. The next day, Norma goes to visit her mother in the mental facility. She's really scared as she hasn't met Gladys in over 10 years. The doctors there escort her toward her mother after passing several extremely disturbed patients. This makes her even more afraid of what's to come. Finally, they reach Gladys, who's calmly sitting on her chair. Norma gets incredibly emotional after seeing her, and immediately runs up into her arms. She sobs hysterically to see her mother's condition, but Gladys doesn't feel a thing. Norma tries to get Gladys to talk, but it's no use. After a while, Norma realizes that almost everyone is staring at them, so she takes Gladys and walks with her to a quieter place. Norma tries her hardest to talk to Gladys, but she just doesn't respond. She even gives her a beautiful shawl, but Gladys looks away and pretends not to hear her. She stares off into the distance, trying not to acknowledge her presence. Still, Norma doesn't give up. She starts talking about her life and how she's famous now. She hands Gladys some of her photos and tells her that she's now under contract at the same studio where Gladys used to work. Gladys looks at all the photos and turns to Norma. Norma takes this opportunity to talk about how she tried to find her father, as he was also involved in the studio, but Gladys cuts her off. She looks Norma directly in the eye and asks her who she is. She goes on to say that she's awaiting her daughter. This makes Norma devastated because Gladys doesn't recall her growing up. She still expects to see the same little girl she was before. Norma finally leaves without a word. We go back to one of her shooting sessions. Norma finally got the part she had previously auditioned for. She's playing a very serious character when suddenly, she sees Gladys. There, Gladys tries to taunt Norma, who soon realizes that this is just her imagination. But this still leaves a lasting impact on her and she can't seem to stop her tears. The movie ends up being a great hit. Although she's a huge Hollywood star now, Norma has no one to call her own. She tries to talk to her doctors about her pain, but they just brush her off. She tries to tell them that the character really affected her, but the doctors don't even bother listening to her. One day, she goes to the Los Angeles Actors Circle. The year is 1952. As she's walking towards the main hall, she sees her unclothed photo hanging on the bulletin board. This makes her really uncomfortable, but she brushes it off. She enters the main hall to see two young, handsome men playing the piano. They notice her walk in and one of them even takes her hand and starts dancing with her. For the first time, Norma feels as if a guy really likes her and sways along to the music. But then the two guys take her to a room and undress in front of her. Norma gets a little scared and uncomfortable, so the two men laugh at her for being such a prude. Then, one of them grabs her and assures her that the human body is meant to be seen. Norma is speechless and doesn't say anything. The man then slowly unzips her dress. Slowly but surely, Norma starts to feel comfortable as she is wrapped in his arms. The two look at each other through the mirror. The man, whose name is Cass, talks to Norma calmly and says that he likes to watch himself in the mirror. That's when the other man, Eddie, joins in and they have a really fun time. She enjoys their touch and they spend the night together. Finally, one of Norma's really talked about movie premieres. She's in the theater watching it with other big personalities. The movie goes on while Norma engages in romantic activity with her two lovers. The movie ends with no one finding out about this. Days pass and Norma is now on the cover of a famous magazine. But she doesn't relate to the woman on the cover. She thinks it's someone completely different. As Norma gains fame, she also gains notoriety. Sooner than later, people find out about her, Cass, and Eddie. Lots of disgusting rumors start spreading and Norma feels really uncomfortable. Cass consoles her saying that they'll love her no matter what and also adds that any publicity is good publicity. He assures her that everything will be alright, and that's when Norma confesses that she doesn't even want this fame. All she wants are Cass and Eddie. She wants to be with them for the rest of her life. But Cass tells her that she needs to be a great actress. The next day, her father calls her to the restaurant. In reality, he's not her actual father that was shown in the photo frame. He's the man who invented Norma and Marilyn Monroe and helped her boost her career. Mr. Shin, whom Norma loves like her father, tells her that she cannot be seen in public with Cass and Eddie anymore. Norma gets really worried, but Mr. Shin then tells her that he doesn't care what she does in public. She just has to be careful. Norma tries to tell him that it isn't fair because she truly loves them. She can be Norma in front of them and not Marilyn. But Mr. Shin retorts that having two men as lovers will really affect her career. Norma is disappointed at that as she doesn't even want that career. She just wants a happy life. At home, she's almost always with Cass and Eddie. They both are sons of really famous people, with Cass being Charlie Chaplin's son. But this is what crushes him. Both Eddie and Cass live in pain because they're nothing like their fathers. In fact, they couldn't be any more different. They tell Norma that she's lucky she doesn't even know her father, so she can just develop herself into a new person. But Eddie and Cass can't. They'll always have to live under the shadows of their fathers. This makes Norma realize that she's lucky for it. As Norma looks at Cass, she realizes how much she loves him. She loves his eyes and his soul. This makes her think that he also loves her like no other man ever could. She understands and empathizes with both Cass and Eddie's pain. One night, all three of them lay on the beach and look up at the stars. They notice the Gemini constellation. That's when Eddie asks them to make a vow. He proposes to make a promise that they'll always love each other no matter what, and they'll always stick up for each other. Norma and Cass agree. Soon, they become a triangle that can't be separated and start calling their team the Gemini. After a couple of days, Norma feels like she's pregnant. She goes to the doctor and surely she is. The doctor is scared, thinking she doesn't want it when it's the exact opposite. Norma is so happy and excited to have the baby. She tells the doctor that she wants to keep it and runs straight to Cass and Eddie. In a restaurant, Norma sits opposite the two and declares that she is pregnant. Eddie seems happy, but Cass is stunned. He doesn't know how to react. When Norma asks if he's all right, he says he is. The three of them then decide to spend the night joyously. They drive out into the city, but Norma wants to go home. Eddie already starts talking about the baby while Cass continues driving. They stop in front of a huge cutout of Norma and celebrate her. But that's when Norma realizes something. The very next day, she calls Mr. Shin and says that she can't do her next movie. Mr. Shin is shocked and asks why, but Norma doesn't give a clear answer. He says that they have already booked her for the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. He even adds that this movie could be her biggest project yet, and Norma stops for a second. She asks how much she's getting paid, to which Mr. Shin says she'll get about $5,000. Norma then asks how much would the other actress in the movie get. Mr. Shin hesitates for a moment and then says that the other actress would get about $100,000. She's stunned to hear that. Norma is so offended that she backs out of the movie. She tells Mr. Shin that the pay is just an insult to her, and hangs up before he can say anything else. Even after this, she isn't sad to have lost such a big project. She smiles at the thought of her baby and writes a letter addressing it. She's just so excited to have it. The following day, Norma visits her mother and gives her a bath. That's when she announces that she's going to be a mother, and tells Gladys how happy she is. Gladys isn't fully stable yet, but Norma doesn't lose hope. She tells Gladys about all that has happened, and even congratulates her for giving birth to her, even though her father never wanted her. She thanks Gladys for keeping her. Norma goes on to tell Gladys about how famous she is now, and claims that it's all because of her. But as she's saying this, she remembers all the times Gladys mistreated her. She reminisces about the time when Gladys almost drowned her and even beat her up. Norma brushes it all off, but is disheartened to see Gladys' pitiful condition. The doctor there tells her that Gladys might never recover. He adds that it's a really complex condition. Norm shifts in her seat and hesitantly asks if the condition is genetic. She's scared that she might turn out to be like her own mother. The doctor is startled by the question and doesn't know how to answer it. This makes Norma panic, and she thinks she will also be abusive like Gladys. She sobs hysterically and calls her gynecologist. The Obgyn tells her to come to the hospital the next day, and Norma agrees. The following morning, Norma gets picked up by her driver. As she's going to the hospital, she sees the stop signal. This is enough for her to turn back. She asks the driver to stop, but he doesn't. She asks for him to pull over, and yet he just ignores her. Before she knows it, she's in the hospital. She's surrounded by a bunch of doctors, and because she's on medication, she can't even stop them. She pleads with them, saying she's changed her mind. The doctors ignore her nevertheless and try to inject her with anesthesia. Norma panics and pushes them all away. She runs out of the operation theater in hysterics. But soon, the hallway is on fire. She's in the same house where Gladys tried to drown her. In the distance, she hears a child crying. She hurriedly rushes up to it and tries to save the baby. She hugs the baby tightly and cries tears of joy. In another scene, we see a man banging on Norma's door. She's on the set of a movie and the man calls for her. The set is bustling with people all around while Norma has tears streaming down her eyes. She looks beautiful, but the pain in her heart is too much. The truth is that she never ran out of the operation theater. It was just a dream while she was under anesthesia. The doctors had aborted her child and she was internally devastated. It seems because of this incident, Norma has separated from Cass and Eddie. She tries to move on and goes on a date with a famous baseball player. There, he talks about his life so far and Norma is impressed. She compliments his talents and he compliments her on her achievements. He tells her that she's really famous and almost always on the news. Norma isn't happy with that because all the news about her is fake. Deep down, she feels disgusted at herself in the studio for making up such disgusting rumors. She tells him that all her publicity is fake. In an attempt to lighten the situation, the baseball player asks Norma about her breakthrough in the movie, but this just triggers her. Norma suddenly remembers all the time she was taken advantage of by the directors just to be cast as the actress. She tries to answer indirectly, but the man continues asking. Norma really doesn't know how to answer the question. Just then, some bright lights flash at the two and they instantly recognize what it is. Norma asks if they can leave and the man agrees. He holds her hand and sympathizes with her, saying he knows what it feels like to be so alone. That's when Norma confesses that she doesn't even want to be an actress anymore. She tells him that she wants to start from the beginning. Norma gleams and adds that she just wants a simple life with a really good guy. The baseball player looks at Norma with keen interest, as she describes how she wants to move to New York and study acting while having a beautiful family. She explains in detail all the things she's so excited about. The ex-athlete stays calm and Norma feels like she's spoken a lot by his reaction. Finally, she declares that she just wants to settle down and have lots of babies. The baseball player smiles with glee and their date ends well. After the date, Norma goes back to her life as Marilyn, where she has to pretend to love the glamour. She jokes about having so many fans and sometimes even tries to tell people how she hates it all. She tries to reach out but nobody believes her. They all assume she's making a light out of her situation. Every day she has to listen to fan mail and compliments from hundreds of people, but deep down, she just wants an ordinary life like her housemates or the nearby florist. Along with appreciation, she also has to endure a tremendous amount of hatred, and it takes a toll on her. Norma tries to brush it off, but it sticks. As she's getting ready for a big day, Norma receives a confidential letter. It's from none other than her father, her real, biological father. Reading the letter brings tears to her eyes. In the letter, her father apologizes for all his wrongdoings and says that he will meet her in person really soon. He adds that he has an interview with her and that he's desperately waiting to meet her, just like she's been looking for him. Towards the end, he writes that he'll see her on a very special day of her life and even calls her his precious daughter. Norma clutches the letter to her heart and sobs. It's the premiere of her biggest movie to date and Norma looks stunning. She gets out of the car and waves at the myriads of fans awaiting her. The paparazzi rush to take her pictures, and as she's posing, a woman comes up to her and tells her that she has to go to her hotel suite alone tonight, as someone special is going to meet her. Norma smiles at the beginning but then realizes that it actually might be her father. This makes her very tearful, but she controls herself. She completely forgets about the interviewers hoarding her and rushes inside. As she sits down, she tells her manager about the special date, and he congratulates her on it. The movie starts and Norma's music performance flashes on the screen. At first, she's very excited about it, but as she goes on watching the movie, she realizes just how pretentious it actually is. The movie portrays her as nothing more than a woman who runs after rich men, and so she doesn't relate to the character at all. Norma is scared that her father might think that the woman on screen is his daughter when in fact it's the exact opposite. Soon, the movie ends and everyone in the audience gives her a standing ovation. They applaud her performance, but Norma hates it and starts crying. Her manager asks her to stand up and thank everyone, but Norma just sobs and says that she isn't in the state for it. Norma quickly disguises her tears as cries of joy, but internally, she curses herself. She blames herself for aborting her baby for this movie, even though she was basically forced to do it. As soon as the premiere ends, Norma runs to her hotel suite in excitement. She hopes to see her father but sees her boyfriend instead. She's partly happy to see him but mostly disappointed to know it's not her father. The man comes up to her and proposes to her on one knee. Norma wants to be happy but she can't. Despite this, she says yes to him and he hugs her tightly. He promises to take her away from all this and protect her from all these predators hounding her. They kiss and get engaged. The two get married really soon as well. Norma and her husband start living together. She's really excited about it and gleefully reads to him all her poems, but he doesn't seem interested at all. He just says it's good and walks away, which makes Norma feel very numb and disheartened. The two soon go to meet his family. They're Italian and Norma doesn't know much about their culture. Hence, his family mocks her in slight indications and laughs, which makes her feel very awkward, but she doesn't say anything. After the meeting, Norma tries to talk to her husband. She's very poetic and loves to talk in deep meaning, but the man is very superficial. She tells him about how she felt so stressed with his family. Still, the man doesn't care. He simply continues to watch his baseball match while nodding every now and then. After a while, he tries to shut her down by telling her to concentrate more and act accordingly. Norma just nods and the two sit in silence. The next day, Norma's husband gets a call. He goes to a nearby restaurant where he's handed some very inappropriate pictures of Norma. He's getting blackmailed, and the blackmailers are none other than Cass and Eddie. The ex-athlete threatens the two, saying he will hurt them, but Cass just laughs. They make some really snide remarks about her and comment about how these pictures are still in the market. The man just gets up and goes home furiously. He runs home and looks at the mess. His temper is beyond control as he stomps inside his house. The ex-athlete finally reaches his room and sees Norma reading a book without clothes. Norma cheerily greets him, but the man tightly slaps her. The poor girl thinks it's because of the messy room and apologizes, but that's when her fiancé throws the raunchy pictures at her. He tells her that the whole world only knows her as an adult symbol and nothing else. Norma cries as she hears this, and that's when he orders her to quit. Norma is shocked to hear this and says that she can't because it's her life. The man then tells her to call her manager and tell him that she will only take up serious roles from now on instead of the physically appealing woman. Norma agrees and promises to do so. The ex-athlete feels bad after seeing her condition and hugs her. He tells her he loves her a lot, and Norma instantly hugs him back. The man tells her that he can't bear to see her cheapen herself for some men, and the two kiss. The scene shifts and we see Norma shooting for a movie. Like always, she's playing the dumb blonde. Right at the end, she jumps on top of a subway and the wind starts rustling from beneath. This causes her skirt to be lifted way up, which shows her undergarments. Norma smiles as that's a part of the movie, and the scene ends. Everyone cheers for her and congratulates her while taking multiple pictures, but Norma just wants to get out. She doesn't like it there one bit. She gleefully laughs on the outside and pretends to be very happy when in reality, she's not close to any sort of happiness. The paparazzi continue to take pictures and whistle when her whole body is seen. Everyone gawks at her undergarments, including Cass and Eddie. In the background, her husband looks at her in anger. The hype calms down soon, and with that, Norma feels empty again. No one's paying attention anymore now that her body is not on display, which hurts her a lot. After a long day, Norma goes back home, but she's shaking with fear. She covers herself up completely and calls out to her husband. Finally, she sees him completely wasted and furious. Norma apologizes for the delay in her scene, but the man attacks her. He calls her all sorts of names and insults her, while asking her if she's proud of herself now that she's a pleasure giver. Norma begs for him to let her go because she has work tomorrow, but the man doesn't care. She pleads and cries, saying she was forced into it. In the background, her father's letter reads out. He adds that he didn't go to see her new movie, as the whole advertisement had shown her private parts. He didn't want to see his daughter like that. He then exclaims that he was sad when she and the ex-athlete divorced, which garnered some very ugly publicity. This shows that Norma didn't stay with the baseball player, after his abuse went on increasing day by day. Months pass and Norma finally moves on. It's 1955 in New York City. A man walks down the street and a gust of wind sends all his papers flying. He desperately grabs onto a photo of a young woman and continues to chant the name Magda as he enters into a movie audition. In the audition, Norma sits quietly and is a little nervous. As soon as the man walks in, he's greeted by a lot of people and Norma watches them keenly. She's there to audition for the main lead, Magda. The mystery man is Arthur Miller, a renowned writer of a very famous book which is now being turned into a movie adaptation. Arthur sits at the back of the tryouts and watches all the participants deliver their lines. He wants to find his beloved Magda within the actors and cast them as the lead. The writer has absolutely no hope that Norma might be the right match for Magda in size. All he sees in her is a symbol of the Hollywood industry. Soon, it's Norma's turn, and contrary to everyone's beliefs, she gives an astounding performance. Even Miller himself is shocked at this. He cries tears of joy, knowing that his Magda had been found. Arthur runs out of the auditions and into the street, where he sees a huge cutout of a very seductive Marital. He doesn't know how the woman who just auditioned and the cutout in front of him are the same person. Ultimately, Norma does get cast as Magda, and she goes to meet Arthur in hopes to know more about her. There, he tells Norma that Magda was his first love. He never even touched her, but the love he feels for her has no bounds. He adds that she's dead now and that he grieves her every single day. Norma sympathizes with him and tells him that she has a couple of ideas about Magda. The writer is happy to know that she cares so much and offers to listen. She tells him about the play The Three Sisters and compares the main character of the play, Natasha, to Magda. She goes into detail about how Magda feels about her and talks about Magda's kindness. Arthur is impressed but continues to taunt her. He belittles Norma every chance he gets because he thinks she isn't into literature at all. He has reduced Norma to nothing more than just a dumb blonde. Even when she talks about different books, Arthur thinks someone described the story to her. He continues mocking her, saying she doesn't know anything more about Magda than he already does. That's when Norma tells him that Magda was probably illiterate. Arthur thinks about it for a second and realizes that Norma's right. He hadn't understood it sooner, but Norma did. Suddenly, his whole perspective changes, and now he's sure that no one can play Magda better than Norma. Arthur starts talking to Norma politely and asks about all her interests. He asks her if she has a real name other than Marilyn, and Norma is so happy to hear that. For the first time, someone actually wants to know more about her rather than just sleep with her. The two start talking gleefully, and that's when the writer asks if he can call her his Magda. Norma is delighted to hear that and readily agrees. From then on, Norma and Arthur's relationship blossoms. Soon, the tabloids are filled with the news of their upcoming wedding. Finally, Norma gets the life of her dreams. She's madly in love with Arthur, and so is he. They have a very quiet wedding and live in a small house away from the bustling city. It's so quiet and peaceful. Norma loves it there and never wants to leave. Even Arthur is really happy, and they spend every passing second together. The two go on walks hand in hand and play together on the beach. It's just the two of them now, and Norma couldn't have asked for anything more. She's truly happy, even more so because she's pregnant again. Norma is thankful because she has a perfect life now. Arthur is really happy to have a baby along the way as well. The two go home and Norma makes herself something to eat. Arthur just stares at her face and confesses just how much he loves her. One day, Norma goes around the house looking for him. She reaches his study and looks at his writings excitedly. That's when she sees his new creation. It's about her. Norma's heart falls as she sees that Arthur had been writing all the conversations they had to form a new story. Previously, Arthur had sworn to never write about her, and now he had broken that promise so fast. Norma's life comes crashing down again, and she confronts him. She begs him to not do this because she doesn't ever want to be Marilyn again. She confesses all her feelings, and Arthur listens to her carefully without uttering a word. A couple of days pass by and Arthur talks to a friend on the phone. He tells them that Norma's doing really well and she just loves being pregnant. That's when he also accepts that Norma is just so much like Magda. Both of them never had it in them to be cruel. On the other hand, Norma is out in the garden picking up some flowers when she feels a sharp kick in her belly. She hears her baby calling out for her and pleading to not be cruel to it again. Norma is startled by this and assures the baby that the past was a mistake. She didn't mean it and she loves her baby a lot. She loves her husband and her family as well. That very day, Arthur's friends, Ruddy and Jean, come to visit the couple. They tell Arthur that Norm is actually a really kind person who is also very intellectual. He thanks them and walks back to the house. There, he sees Norma acting very fidgety. Arthur asks her why she isn't coming with them to the beach, but Norma doesn't respond. She's scared that his friends don't like her. Arthur assures her that she's just overthinking and urges her to join them. Norma is really hesitant, but her husband insists. The two of them then walk with snacks and beer to the beach. Arthur runs forward to hand Ruddy and Jean some bottles of beer, and that's when Norma trips. Everyone looks at her with concern, but Norma tells them that she's fine. But she isn't. She quickly notices a huge bloodstain on her crotch and freaks out. She cries out to Arthur, but even before he can save her, Norma is hounded by paparazzi and she unfortunately miscarries. As much as she wanted, Norma's life doesn't change. She is again forced to be in the headlines. Everywhere she goes, she has people pushing and grabbing her. And despite this, she has to keep a smile on her face. In one of her shooting scenes, Norma sings a song beautifully. As she continues, she realizes that the song has a lot of indirect jokes regarding her. This is the final straw for her. She loses her temper and screams at the director. With rage filling inside her, Norma scratches herself and stumbles out off the stage. All the directors and producers try to stop her, but her makeup artist, whose name is Whitey, comes just in time. He takes her away, and to calm her down, they inject her with a substance. Norma calms down for a second, and then gets knocked out cold because of the medication. She wakes up hours later and has no idea what has happened. Her head hurts and she looks around at the mess she had made before. Arthur barges into the room to check on Norma, but she just ignores him. She starts drinking and smoking to ease the pain. Arthur tries his hardest to convince her to stop. He begs her to not destroy herself, but Norma snaps at him and tells him to mind his own business. After the loss of her second child, Norma becomes very unstable. She doesn't pay attention to her marriage and career anymore. Every time she opens her eyes, her baby flashes before her. Even during shoots, she starts sobbing uncontrollably. Norma finally gets way too frustrated and curses everyone out before storming off. She starts fidgeting uncontrollably as Whitey tries to calm her down. The doctor arrives at the scene and injects some drugs into her veins. Norma begs to go home but then passes out again because of the heavy medication she's on. Another one of her father's letters reads that he's very sad about the loss of her unborn child. He talks about how the grief she's going through must be unimaginable. After the medication subsides, Norma drives home and sobs all the way back. She's incredibly angry and irritated at everyone. In the letter, her father assures her that he will meet her very soon, and in a desperate attempt to get in touch with him, Norma tries to look outside her car and find him. She repeats his letter again and again in her head, waiting for the time to meet him and get her rightful explanation. Because of her anger and frustration, Norma screams out and crashes her car in front of a tree. After a while, she gets out of the wrecked car with no sense of where she is. However, she finds a way back home. Arthur desperately awaits her and tries to see if she's okay, but Norma just snaps at him. She walks up to her room and hears the phone ringing. Norma picks it up. On the phone, a woman asks if she's coming for the shoot. Norma rudely tells the woman that she won't be coming anymore and hangs up. She then angrily throws the phone in her drawer. As the phone continues ringing, Norma starts hearing the cries of her unborn children as well. She wails and sobs in the pain. Just then, Whitey appears and he hugs Norma, saying she'll be okay. He gets her under the influence of substance again, and in her dazed state, he finishes her makeup. As she's just partly conscious, Norma keeps on talking about her baby. Whitey assures her that she'll be okay and then slowly helps her up. He sits her down before her vanity dresser and does some touch-ups. But despite all this, Norma doesn't stop sobbing. She tries to calm herself down and finally, she brings on her cheerful facade. She becomes the Marilyn Monroe everyone knows and hides the Norma Jean nobody recalls. Norma practices her smile and her fake laughs. She then goes to her new movie premiere. As usual, there's a multitude of fans and paparazzi trying to get a hold of her. They chant her name and try to get her attention. Most of them start taking thousands of pictures as the car finally arrives. Inside the car, Norma is sitting between her manager and Arthur. It's the movie premiere of Magda. Arthur is really excited, but Norma couldn't care less. She seems completely disinterested and dissociated. As Norma walks the red carpet, she looks at all the men screaming out her name. She's disgusted by it but pretends to be flattered. Norma waves at her fans and claims that she loves them all. Arthur stands there posing for pictures while Norma blows them all a kiss. Eventually, they reach the movie theater and the film begins. The movie ends and it all goes well. Years pass and now it's 1962. Norma is addicted to substance. She used them to calm herself down, but now she needs them on all occasions. Even in planes and in premieres, she's always on substance and almost always passes out. In an attempt to tune out her surroundings, she uses substance as her solace. The sad thing is that she still hasn't met her father. All she receives are his letters of fake comfort and fake promises of meeting soon. The paparazzi get new headlines every day about Norma's addiction. Because of this dazed state, Norma can't even comprehend her surroundings anymore. Once during her flight, Norma gets under the influence of substance so much that she keeps on stumbling. She is fully knocked out during the whole flight, and even after reaching her destination, she doesn't seem to realize it. The stewardess tries to help her, but she can't even stand up straight anymore. As she walks down the aisle, Norma sees a bunch of suited men waiting for her. She thinks she's getting arrested and passes out again. The men help her out and take her in a car. After she wakes up, Norma confesses that her affair with the president has nothing to do with romantic moments. She adds that President Kennedy and her have a soul bond. Norma regrets saying that as soon as the words escape her mouth, because that could really create a great controversy. She looks away, embarrassed. The man in front of her then hands her a ticket back to Los Angeles. Norma is shocked because she was supposed to stay in New York longer. That's when the man says that since the president's plans have changed, hers have as well. Initially, the plan was to stay the night with the president, but since he had an emergency back in Washington, he had to cancel the overnight stay. Norma just nods in understanding. They finally reach the president's place. Norma tries to walk out, but the guards grab her tightly and drag her through the back. She asks them to take her nicely, but they ignore her pleas. Norma is carried like a prisoner and thrown into a suite so that she can freshen up. This makes her incredibly offended and stunned. However, she ignores that and gets herself ready to meet the president. Finally, the time comes and Norma is escorted through a series of rooms and hallways and into the president's office. She goes into his chambers and is shocked to see his condition. The president is barely clothed with just a band around his waist. He's laying down on the bed while speaking on the phone. As soon as he sees Norma, he calls her to his side and says that he's so relieved to have her there. Norma is glad to hear that and is just pleased to see her lover. She is concerned for him and asks if there's anything she can do to make him feel better. Much to her dismay, he asks her to give him. As Norma realizes this, all her hopes get crushed. She does as he says whilst feeling incredibly dirty herself. Within her, a war ensues where she continually curses herself and Marital for being in this situation. Her ears only ring with harsh words and insults for doing this. The guard outside doesn't care, but the man on the telephone is stunned. He asks the president to stop these shenanigans because the consequences could be irreparable. Norma is scared her identity will be revealed and tries to talk softly. She tells the president about how he's so charming and assures him that she doesn't care how many women he sleeps with. But before she can speak further, he grabs her tightly and has intense moments with her. In the end, Norma is passed out again. She's drunk and high. The president leaves her there and the guards drag her away. Every inch of her body hurts and Norma has absolutely no idea what happened. She goes back home that very evening. At home, she dozes off from time to time. Despite all this, she still has Whitey who takes care of her. The two have fun chatting and laughing. Right then, Norma goes to use the washroom. She feels her stomach and a motherly instinct awakens. Norma is pregnant. Norma is with a child, and not just anyone but the president's. This makes her really worried. She tries to confirm it by asking the doctor, but this turns out to be the wrong move. As she's sitting in the living room, the phone rings. Norma jerks up at that. She slowly walks up to the phone and picks it up. She's really paranoid that someone will hurt her or her baby. Norma then looks outside her house and sees a van parked there. This sends her into a panic frenzy. She runs into her house frantically but sees lots of men looking for her. Norma rushes to her bedroom and hides underneath the covers whilst trying to console herself. Unfortunately, the men find her and drag her away. Norma tries to break free, but they have her strapped. They get her under the influence of substance, and out of nowhere, she's now in the operation theater. She tries to calm herself down, thinking it's just a really crazy dream, and laughs maniacally. But the doctor there suctions off the fetus and terminates the pregnancy right then and there. In another scene, Norma wakes up from her nap. She thinks this was all a very bad dream and smiles. But as she climbs out of bed, her whole body is soaked with blood. Norma realizes that the abortion was real, but she can't bear to accept that, so she just pretends all of it was a really bad dream. Her father never stops sending letters. In one of them, he tells her that he's always wanted to meet her, but the guilt is too much. He adds that he has now been incapacitated by a terminal illness, but still promises to meet her before he dies. He apologizes for toying with her heart, and this makes Norma tear up. She still hasn't stopped waiting for her father. The hope is alive, and she has faith that her father will definitely come for her. One day, the phone rings again and Norma picks it up. It's none other than Eddie. His voice is very shaky and Norma is concerned. That's when he tells her that Cass is dead. He choked on his own puke and died. Norma is shocked to hear this. Eddie sobs on the phone and tells her that he left for a memento for her. He cries and asks her to come to pick up. Norma cries as well, and her whole body shakes with grief. Not now, but there was a day when she loved Cass with all her heart and soul. She tells Eddie that she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to think of him at all, but Eddie insists. He tells her he'll send it to her through a special delivery, and sure enough, Norma gets a parcel the next day. She's really nervous as she takes it inside her house. Norma looks at the parcel warily. Finally, she musters up all her courage and opens it to see a tiger. It's like the same tiger she had when she was a kid. Norma hugs the doll tightly and cries. On the bottom, she notices a letter. It's addressed to her. She opens it carefully to see a card, and it's from none other than her father. Norma is excited and opens the card, but as she reads what's written inside, her world collapses. It's Cass's confession. All these years, he was the one who wrote those letters as Norma's father. In reality, her father never really contacted her. It had always been Cass telling her how he felt while impersonating her father. Cass knew how much Norma longed for him, so to make her happy, he had started writing to her. Norma can't believe this. She runs outside her house and screams in pain. She sobs violently, knowing that her father never wanted her. All the letters were a huge lie. Finally, Norma has had enough. Her life holds no meaning now, and goes back inside. She lays down on her bed. Norma hugs her dog one last time before taking her last breath. Even at the end, she remembers her mother showing her the photo frame and telling her about her father. Sunlight seeps through the ceiling and falls upon Norma's lifeless body as the movie ends.